right, let's get started and people will join us when they join us, all right? Sound good to everyone?
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Good evening. I am Karen Douglas. I'm joining you from the World Pediatrics Atlanta office, and I'd like to welcome you to this evening's Caribbean Field Report. At World Pediatrics, we deliver direct surgical care to children and neonatal support to women in underserved regions of Latin America, the Caribbean, Asia, and Africa. We partner with communities to build a stronger pediatric healthcare workforce. Our ultimate goal is to transform healthcare systems by providing equipment, infrastructure, and leadership support, empowering communities to create sustainable improvements. We'll be together this evening for just 30 minutes, but there will be time at the end for Q&A. You'll hear first from my colleague, Patricia Deane, our program manager in the Caribbean. She'll be followed by one of World Pediatrics' longtime volunteers, Dr. Lindley Wall, who's a pediatric hand surgeon and chief of pediatric orthopedics at Washington University. Please type any questions you have in the chat as you think of them, and I'll ask them during Q&A, or you can raise your hand at the end during Q&A and we'll just call on you. All right, and with that, I'd like to turn it over to Patricia Deane.
Thank you, Karen. And hi, everyone. I know our time is limited, so I'd like to quickly tell you about what I do at World Pediatrics and give you an idea of what goes into the operational aspect of planning and executing a medical team to the Caribbean region. But before I start, let's be sure that we all are aware of where exactly we're located in the Caribbean. So here is the map, and I'd like to draw your attention to the highlighted island. Oops. Sorry about that. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So by the way, we're located south of Florida, just to put it into perspective. And you may be familiar with that chain of islands. The highlighted island, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is where our regional hub is located. That's where our main office for the region is, as well as our own dedicated operating room there at the hospital. However, we do have presence in the other islands, St. Kitts, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada, Guyana, and Barbados, which is where I'm located. So basically, the way the little background. We basically operate on a 3-pillar mode of impact. Where we deliver care, we empower, and we transform care. What this means in summary, for example, is that we deliver care to kids in the region by bringing teams who conduct diagnostic clinics throughout the island, as well as surgical intervention, which basically happens mainly at our hub location in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, although we do perform some surgical interventions in Barbados. While delivering this care, we empower our medical partners on the ground by offering training as well as other services such as observerships. The objective basically is to equip our local partners so that they can then perform some of the services on their own. And last pillar, we're going to take a look at this
yogurt to add to it.
Transforming care. And this happens when we assist with such things as infrastructure development and by providing leadership support. So basically, in summary, our objective is not just to come in and provide our services and then leave. Rather, we are committed to knowledge and skills sharing and sustainability. Next slide, please, Danica. All right, so like I said before, I am the project manager who basically I'm dedicated to the orthopedic program throughout the Caribbean. And under the orthopedic umbrella, we've got different subspecialties such as general orthopedic, upper and lower extremity, the spine, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, orthotics, and bracing, just to give you an idea of the magnitude of the orthopedic program. Next slide, please. All right, so what does this look like? What does the activity and traffic look like in the Caribbean? Just to give you an idea of the numbers. For this year alone, we've brought 18 orthopedic teams to the Caribbean. And with those 18 trips in total, we've had 80 plus medical professional partners and volunteers who came down. A total of 75 surgeries, orthopedic surgeries, have been completed in the region this year so far. And we've delivered 1,100 plus medical services to our children, which we've seen a total of about 800 plus kids throughout the region. And this, mind you, this is just in the orthopedic program. So as you can imagine, there are lots of moving parts in planning and executing these teams. And we determine the unmet orthopedic need in each island, and then we deploy teams accordingly. Basically, we build teams of medical volunteers who are located throughout the US. Sometimes a team is made up of medical volunteers from Hawaii to New York and in between. And it's really interesting to see how they come together in synergy and offer their services free of charge just to deliver care to our kids in the Caribbean. So besides the logistical planning and getting the team members on the ground, a crucial part of the planning involves the logistics and supplies management. And so we have fostered relationships with companies who donate a good chunk of supplies that are needed, which is, you can well imagine, for items such as implants and hardware that are needed for orthopedic surgery, like the spine and other things. They're quite expensive. So we've been fortunate enough to foster relationships with companies that are generous enough to donate these to us. We do sometimes need, well, most teams, we do have to purchase some supplies, but it's minimal compared to what we have donated to us, which is a good thing. We also have donors who donate funds to cover team expenses such as accommodation, travel expenses, and the shipment of the supplies as well. One thing that I want to draw your attention to is that, as you've seen from the map, we're multiple islands here in the region, in the Caribbean region. And so the movement of teams and supplies and children from one island to the next for care, that does take some time and money. And what we've done recently is to explore options such as telehealth, where we can be more efficient and cost effective for some diagnostics clinics. We have successfully implemented a telehealth clinic for the upper extremity subspecialty this year. So let's take a look at the numbers as a result of this clinic. This clinic was actually spearheaded by Dr. Lindley Wall. And over a period of 2 months, we had telehealth clinics that covered 6 different islands, and 8 local medical partners on the ground participated. As I mentioned before, it's really important for us to get to integrate with the local partners and do our knowledge sharing and building out the capacity in that aspect. So a total of 74 patients were assessed virtually, and I just think this is so amazing. And coming out of that, Dr. Wall was able to identify 23 surgical cases. In the end, Dr. Wall came down to St. Vincent, and 15 of those children coming out of these telehealth clinics received surgical intervention in St. Vincent last month. So I think to me, that's really amazing that we were able to pilot something like this and be so successful. Next slide, please. So just wanted to wrap up by showing you some quick pictures of coming out of those telehealth clinic. We're able to the left, there's a little Kalila from St. Lucia. And Kalila's condition was a bit more complicated, something that and urgent. So the decision was made to take this child to the US, where she's currently undergoing care with Dr. Wall. And to the right, we've got 4 Barbadian patients who were returning from surgery in St. Vincent. And this is, like I said, a result of the telehealth clinics that we ran this year. So at this point, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Lindley Wall, who would walk you through her experience with the program and give you an idea of what happens on the clinical side of it. Dr. Wall?
Thank you, Patricia, and thank you to everyone. This is an incredible opportunity, and I'm very excited to share the week that we spent with you. Next slide, please. So our mission, the mission trip we went on was a week-long trip to St. Vincent, and it was we were really lucky we were able to do it as a combination trip. So I had a team taking care of the upper extremity, and then Dr. Gordon, who also has been a very long time volunteer, had a lower extremity team, and you can see everyone that traveled with us from the States here. And we go to the Milton Cato Hospital in St. Vincent. Next slide. So here's sort of distribution of our team members. We had 2 surgeons, as I said, myself and Dr. Gordon. We had 2 anesthesiologists that help us to run our operative rooms. And then each of us brought a fellow, so someone in training in our specialties. We each had an operating room nurse, and then we had a clinical nurse with us, who I believe may be on this call, and she kept us all incredibly organized. And then we had a physical therapist, and then also an occupational therapist, and then 2 orthopedic representatives who really helped us organize and have our implants ready for use. Next slide. So the first day was really the busiest day, it feels like. So the first day we came on Saturday, and then we had a full day clinic on Sunday, and that's how the weeks are usually scheduled. So those are the days that we see patients, assess them, we see new patients. And this is the day that I had, as was mentioned, I did many telehealth visits, but patients came in, and then we did sort of a one-on-one where we did it in person to sort of reassess and talk about the operative plan. We saw overall about 100 patients, and then it was from this and these visits that we then established the operating schedule for the week. And so Dr. Gordon also has done some off-island clinics where he did clinical visits while I did mine virtually. And I have done some multiple trips in the past doing clinic visits. This is sort of a combination for both of us. And I do think that virtual visits were very well received. And so looking at the surgeries, these are our 2 teams. So Dr. Gordon's on the left of your screen, and then my team's on the right. We did a total of 29 surgeries. So the lower extremity team did 13, and then we did 16. We actually did one of the leg cases in our room because we had a little bit more time. But we were able to take care of all these children. We did surgery pretty much from the beginning of the morning until in the evenings. And so we felt that we were really able to help a lot of kids. Next slide. So here's my hand team. So you could see this here, our anesthesiologist, our fellow. We don't have our therapist in this. Unfortunately, she was down cleaning up when we were taking this picture. And you can see on the left a list of all of the conditions. We took care of many, many different types of conditions and that affect the upper extremity. And so next slide. What these involve, so cerebral palsy is a condition where there's increased, a lot of people know this, where there's a lot of increased tone in the arm, or the arm's a little bit tighter. And so we were able to help kids with doing different tendon surgeries and potentially bone surgeries for them. We have thumb duplication. So some children are born with an extra thumb. And so we'll do a surgery to reconstruct and help them go down to 1 thumb. Syndactyly, which is that one picture of the little hand, and you could see how the fingers are fused together. And so that's a surgery where we're able to separate the fingers, and we use skin graft for that to help separate them and have them covered. And then brachial plexus injury, which is an injury that happens to the nerves in the neck when children are born. And so that was what Kalia had. And so her initial surgery was a little too complicated to be in an area where we didn't have an ICU if we needed it. And it's a much longer case, but with brachial plexus injuries, they actually will need additional surgeries later at times. And so some of the children we saw needed a different surgery, either on their forearm or on their shoulder to improve their function. So that was another surgery. And then some kids are born with bumps on their bones that grow over time. It can be hereditary or not. And so they can also become painful. So we take those off. And then this picture here, this elbow that has a little different angle, that's from a previous fracture that he had. So sometimes we will do a surgery to help take care of injuries that have happened in the past. So next slide. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to express what we have been able to do. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, do we have any questions? Thank you so much, Dr. Wall and Patricia. Appreciate that. I'm having difficulty opening my chat for some reason, so I can't even see if there are any questions. All right. I
So
do.
should
Oh,
we
I'm
ask
sorry. Go ahead,
questions? If
Ted.
we have questions, should we ask those here or in the chat or?
Ask them right now in here. Go ahead, Ted.
Okay, perfect. Well, I want to thank Patricia and Dr. Wall for speaking with us today. I certainly appreciate your time doing this. In addition to all that you do for the children, it's, one of the things I think that we have in common, and just, being that close to the care and being able to see that the results of your work has got to be very, very satisfying. So thank you for that. And this one, Dr. Wall, when you create the teams, when you took your team down, you created the team, you said, hey, why don't we go down and take care of some kids, or how does that work? Do you ever have mixed teams? I mean, because it seems like that's something that's pretty particular. I'm interested in how you form the teams.
Yeah, great question. There's definitely people who know about the trips and ask to go. So there we try to spread it out to give a lot of people the experience to go. But I will say that usually once we kind of pick our date, sometimes we have to see, because it's hard to take a week off from work. And so when you're a working nurse or anesthesiologist or a therapist, we sort of plan this ahead of time. So a lot of the people that I ask for, people I work with almost daily. But then, if someone will hear about it, like one of Jen was our OR nurse that went with us this time, she said, I'd really like to go with you. And she told me that over a year ago. And so that also is one way that it happens.
Excellent. Thank you. And a quick second question here for Patricia. So I know, just working a little bit in the Caribbean, moving patients, it's like, oh, there's an island right there. It's really close. But the transportation patterns don't work like that. So, when I worked for a hospital there, and we would have to send patients, we'd have to send them by through Miami. They'd have to transit through Miami and then go to the hospital in the Caymans. How, are your islands close enough where you can transport them by boat, or how do you work out the logistics of that?
We don't use the method of boat. We use air transport, and it hasn't changed. It's quite pricey, believe it or not, to travel into Ireland. Sometimes it's cheaper actually to fly up to the US, believe it or not. But so that is quite a challenge. And because our donors are different in each island, the economic situation is different, basically. We may have an island who we are very secure with a sponsor there who would pay for the children to go to Timbuktu, basically. But then we have an island where it's like pulling teeth to get funding to bring the children over to, let's say, to St. Vincent for surgical intervention. So what we've done to mitigate that challenge is we try to have the diagnostic clinics throughout the region. So we bring a lot of diagnostic teams down to the different islands. And so now we're just left with the candidates who need surgery. And so the pool is smaller, and so it's more manageable then from a financial standpoint to get them over. But that's why we came up with the telehealth. So like, can we do this telehealth thing in one of these subspecialties? And then we started with upper extremity, and it's been the best thing ever. So
Great. Thank you very much.
Patricia, I'm curious, and just sort of leaning into Chad's question a little bit. Curious about the local supply of doctors and health professionals, right? So I know one of the things that we're focused on as an organization is really trying to build that capacity within the country. So I'm curious from your perspective, and quite frankly from yours also, Dr. Wall, like how are we working within local systems to really build that capacity locally?
So I'll answer from an operational standpoint, and then Dr. Wall can chime in from her standpoint. So we really try, and we've been very welcome in every island that we've gone into, to whether it's a diagnostic trip or surgical trip. We do let every the medical partners on the ground know that we're coming. The Ministry of Health and everybody is on board with all this. And so I think every trip that we have come to the region, regardless of what island it is, if it's diagnostic and regardless if it's diagnostic or surgical, we do have collaboration with the local medical partners. So they will come to diagnostic clinics, they will refer their patients to us. And then when we do have the surgical clinics as well, they are in the operating room. They're working alongside our medical volunteers that we brought in. And there's a lot of knowledge training sharing that goes on. I can tell you, I just had a physiotherapy team go to St. Vincent, and they carved out a chunk of their time to do serial casting educational training for the team on the ground, so that we know when they leave, if there's a child that needs that procedure now, we can do it in St. Vincent. So we try to build the capacity that way.
Yeah, I can speak when we go down, it's been a great experience. I will say one of the fun things is some of the medical students will actually join us, both in the clinic and then sometimes into the operating room, and the residents who are doing their training. So that's been really fun to talk with them and to hear about their experience, and also to involve them in the care of the children. And then even a little bit beyond that, I think that the team has done a very nice job in developing relationships on different islands, so that we've been able to continue the care of the children. So once we're done, we're able to sort of make sure that the children have the right, follow-up, and that their care continues. And then when we come back down, we obviously see them again.
Thank you both. Thank you both. I know we're closing in on time. Are there any other questions from the audience, and or Dr. Wall or Patricia, anything else that you'd like to share about your experiences? And quite frankly, what are some of the challenges that you might be facing?
Operationally, it's always the funding and trying to get it on par on all the islands, because like I said, I manage the teams throughout the Caribbean. So some islands are easier than others. And, that's always a challenge. And, like, you don't want to leave. When you're managing a program, you hate to see that some kids have the advantage of getting to care and others don't. So that's always a sticking point. Man, I wish you could just move the funds around to cover those kids, but it doesn't work that way. And so it is a challenge, and it's something that we're working on diligently in those islands, that the kids don't have such a benefit of getting that sponsorship to get over to St. Vincent that's safe for surgical intervention.
So the transportation is a key challenge that we face.
Yeah, the cost of plane tickets, and then when they get to St. Vincent, there's a cost of accommodation, and sometimes some families cannot afford to, buy meals there. So it's that logistical cost. Because once they get to St. Vincent, the intervention itself, the surgery, is free of charge, thanks to people like Dr. Wall.
Well, I would say from my experience, it has only been wonderful. I've been so incredibly thankful for how welcoming everyone has been at the hospitals, and the organization and WP's boots on the ground have just been a great help and a great service. I would say probably time. Like, I think we would all love to go down more frequently. And so I think from our side, like, the time away from work is hard, but I think that we are very dedicated. Everyone on the team had such a great time, and what we are able to take away from it personally is such a strong factor that, I think everyone who goes one time always wants to keep going back. So thank you for everything you do to help make that possible.
No, we thank you. Absolutely. Any other questions? All right. Well, I'd like to give a special thank you to our amazing volunteer, Dr. Lindley Wall. Lindley, we really do appreciate all that you've done for World Pediatrics. Thank you, Patricia, for joining us from Barbados. And I'd like to thank each of you that joined us this evening. This is going to be available on our YouTube channel. We'll get it uploaded as quickly as possible. Would love for you to share it with other people because as you heard tonight, there is always a need, there are challenges and things like that. And if you would help us get the word out about World Pediatrics, we would be eternally grateful. Okay. And with that,
Thank
I'd
you all.
like to say good evening to everyone. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thank you, Patricia.
you.
Thank you,
Good night.
Dr. Wall.
Thank you.
Hi, Katie. One, I was just gonna remind you to save the recording before we
Fine.
forget. But I think it'll happen after you end the call.
Let's hope.
So press stop recording and then see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, it is the stop
Because it might say,
recording.
okay, I'm gonna save it to XYZ place.
Yeah.